Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on pen testing, vulnerability scanning, or both. My name is Vishwas Nai. I lead the red team at ENHALO, offering services such as pen testing, vulnerability scanning, incident response, and social engineering. So I've been very fortunate to work with various clients ranging from two-man bands to global enterprises in industries ranging from financial, logistics, retail. I wanted to start off the webinar by highlighting some of the things that have been said to me during my discussions with customers when I've previously discussed either pen testing or vulnerability scanning with them. Common things include what is the difference between the two services? The service I previously got was not what I was looking for from a different provider. The reports are confusing. I don't know what to focus on. Do I need both services for my organization, etc. I've also gone into organization where, they have presented me with a 300 or 400 page penetration test report when essentially that is a vulnerability scan report, which doesn't meet regulatory compliance that the business needs to adhere to. So vulnerability scanning is a high-level automated test carried out by a tool. The tool normally runs thousands of scans against the system, producing a list of vulnerabilities which are present in your IT environment. Comparing this to a real-world scenario, let's say, for example, we had someone who wanted to break into a bank. Before they actually break in, what they will do is a high-level scan of the building itself. How many windows are there? How many entry points? Is there a smoking area that the potential threat actor could get in from? Is there a joining building which could hide their movement? And so on. On the other hand, we have a penetration test, which is a manual hands-on test by a certified penetration tester, which not only finds the vulnerabilities, but also will exploit them to gain access to the data within the IT environment. Taking it back to the bank scenario, in this case, once the intruder has found the way into the bank, now they will try and get into the vault to get to the valuables on the other side. So what are some of the things which make up a vulnerability scan engagement? The focus of the vulnerability scan is to list known software vulnerabilities that a potential threat actor could exploit. As the scan is ran using tools, these tools can be automated and can be run continuously to gain a continuous security posture against your IT environment. When it comes to the frequency of how often your organization should run a vulnerability scan, we recommend an internal scan is performed at least once a quarter on the internal network, and at least on a monthly basis on any assets that are publicly facing or on your external network. The report, which is usually produced on the back of a vulnerability scan engagement, is in a list-oriented format, usually starting with the most critical vulnerabilities and working its way down to high, medium, and low risk vulnerabilities that were found. And it will provide generic remediation advice. Sometimes these remediations are as simple as applying a patch, updating a piece of software, and sometimes a more complex workaround may need to be implemented. Your organization should consider a couple of things when starting on a vulnerability scan engagement. The first being what kind of scan needs to be ran to meet your business needs. There are two types of scans, one being authenticated, the other being unauthenticated. Unauthenticated scan will allow the scanning software to go a lot deeper into an asset or a box, will allow it to see how it's made up. So in a workstation, for say, it will be able to go in at an operating system level, see if the configurations are right, if all the software patches are to its latest levels, and so forth. Whereas the unauthenticated scan is looking at a box or a machine from the outside. It can only identify and report on information that it can see from the outside or publicly. Sometimes these scans are also known as a hacker's view, as it usually shows the organization's security posture. This scan is used by organizations to find out, what potential entry points there are for an intruder to get in without them having access to log into a machine or open up the box per se. With COVID, one of the other considerations to keep in mind is how these scans are going to be performed. Traditionally, in an office-based environment, all of your users and your machines would have been in one central location, so the scanner would have visibility of everything in one geographic location. But now your workers and your staff are spread across the state or across the globe. So these scanners will need to be deployed on a machine basis where they can report back to a central location for your IT team to have a complete understanding of where the security gaps are. On the other hand, focus of a penetration test is to discover unknown and exploitable weaknesses that may be present within your business environment. Penetration tests are usually performed by a certified penetration tester and are a manual, complex process, usually taking a number of days or weeks to perform. Penetration tests are a goal-oriented engagement where an organization may ask the certified penetration tester to gain the highest privileges, meaning gain access to an account which can cause the most damage if it were to be compromised, or to gain access to a certain area of the business where sensitive information may be held, such as intellectual property. Penetration tests are a snapshot in time. If you were to perform one today, you will have a snapshot of what your IT infrastructure's security posture looks like as of March 2021. It may look completely different 2 or 4 months down the line. When it comes to the frequency of a penetration test, we recommend these are ran at least once a year, but depending on your risk posture, some organizations would need to run a pen test twice a year. It's also a good idea to perform a penetration test when there is a significant change in the IT infrastructure. So you have a view, a snapshot in time of the risks that face the organization just after the change has been made. The report is a handwritten report containing detailed information on each of the vulnerabilities, not only identified, but evidence of exploiting them to gain access to either an account or an area within your organization. And the remediation advice on the back of these are very targeted. The penetration test reports are usually much shorter in length, maybe about 20, 30 pages, as compared to a vulnerability scan where the reports can be 300 or 400 pages long. There are several different types of penetration tests an organization may need to carry out, depending on what they offer to either their business partners or end customers. The most common type of penetration test that we carry out is an infrastructure penetration test, which focuses on either your on-premise or cloud network infrastructure. These will highlight key weaknesses and misconfigurations which present a risk to the resources you're trying to protect. There are two areas that an infrastructure test focuses on: the internal network and the external network. An internal infrastructure test will try and see what damage can be done if a hacker or a threat actor were to have a foothold into the IT environment, or an employee going rogue, contractors, or a compromised partner, as they commonly have access to the internal environment of businesses. On the other hand, an external infrastructure penetration test will focus on assessing the network for vulnerabilities and security issues present in servers, hosts, or devices and networks which may be publicly accessible. A web penetration test will try and find any weaknesses in either the coding or the development and design of an application which is offered through the web. Some of the things that are covered are access control, discovery of a route which allows an attack to be performed and steal sensitive data which may be stored in a certain part of the web application, and also things such as cross-site scripting. A mobile application penetration test will try and identify any security holes in your Android or iOS mobile application. These are performed to give developers assurance that their product is safe and secure before it's released to a customer. It allows the organizations to have the assurance that the mobile application they are rolling out is safe and meets their business needs and security standards. And the customer has a peace of mind because the application has been security tested by a certified tester. A wireless penetration test will focus on identifying rogue access points, weak encryption methods which your current wireless network may be using, which could allow a potential threat actor to sit in the middle and collect information, or allow a user in a guest wireless network to be able to jump to a corporate wireless network, which will allow them to see information which they should not be able to see. Finally, a social engineering penetration test will allow your organization to understand weaknesses within not the technical infrastructure, but the humans that make up your organization. Social engineering attacks usually involve sending of phishing emails or spear phishing emails to executive teams, sending rogue text messages, or even dropping USBs in the parking lot which may have malware. The goal here is to use humans to give the attacker access into your organizations by tricking them. It is a good idea to carry out these engagements because it allows you to determine the effectiveness of your information security policies or security awareness program that you may be carrying out for your staff, and to also see some publicly available information about your organizations which these attackers use to gain access and to manipulate your staff. So essentially, a vulnerability scan is an automated scan which identifies vulnerabilities in your IT environment, whereas a penetration test will take it one step further and will try to exploit these vulnerabilities and provide a deeper understanding of weaknesses within your defenses. Taking it back to a real world scenario, let's say you go to a hospital for a full health checkup. It will consist of a X-ray, which is like a vulnerability scan because it's a lot easier and quicker to perform, can be performed multiple times a year. Whereas on the other hand, a penetration test is like an MRI scan, which takes a long time to do, but will provide a lot deeper understanding of any illnesses. Your IT infrastructure is no different. A vulnerability scan will allow you to get continuous understanding of your security posture, but performing a penetration test will allow you to test the defenses that you have inputted to try and stop any threat actors from compromising your environment. Your organization may also need to perform both services if you need to comply to certain industry standards or laws, some of these being PCI DSS, HIPAA, or the Federal Information Security Management Act. These security standards require organizations to carry out both a penetration test and vulnerability scan at different durations, depending on the standard outlined. Thank you very much for tuning into this webinar on pen testing, vulnerability scanning, or both. I hope you have a better understanding of both services. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us over email, or you can visit our website for more information. We will now move on to the Q&A session. Thank you.